bring a little more clarity for us to the defensive scheme in terms of talking to the guys. It feels like a 4-2-5 where the outside guys can stand up or get down. Is that a good kind of nutshell of what you're doing, or how would you describe it?
Yes, sir. I think personnel-wise, we're 3-4 right now. Have 3-4 personnel and mixing between being odd and even. So it's it's something that had a chance to do at my previous stop, and trying to be multiple, mess with the targeting for those offenses, at the same time be simple so that we can be sound fundamentally. But yeah, I guess as you look at us, mixing there between 3-4 and 4-2-5.
And how much of you've got a vision of what you want to be defensively, I'm sure, but you also have personnel that you've inherited. When you look at this roster, are you deep enough on the D-line, deep enough at linebacker? Where do you have areas that you're tweaking to adjust to personnel?
Yeah, I think that's ongoing. I think that's week to week. Obviously here in the spring, trying to maintain some depth and, but I think that'll evolve here specifically after we get through fall camp as far as really having an identity. So it's been evolving all spring long as far as, what we can do, and it'll be good to get some freshmen in here and get rolling.
And the last one for me on this front, in terms of terminology, are you using the Bandit position? Is that what you call it? And kind of what's the difference there between the Bandit and the, I guess, strong side linebacker? What are the differences there?
Yeah, it's a term that used, and what it is, it's a weak side outside linebacker. And then like a field end is playing, so we have an end and a Bandit that end up being kind of our edge rushers. And so really there's no rhyme or reason other than just having to give them a name so that we can get them lined up when they look at the X's and O's on the paper.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
John, Greg Medea from the Daily Progress. Just going back to when we spoke to you, I guess, a couple months ago, I know there was a kind of a big emphasis on fundamentals and tackling. Now that you're all the way through the spring, how would you say your defense has progressed in those areas?
Yeah, well, we haven't played it. We've had a chance to scrimmage, but I think you really don't have an idea as far as the fruits of your labor until you play football games. But so it's been an emphasis, and it'll continue to be an emphasis. And if we can continue to get after it in the weight room after we commence spring, we'll have a chance to continue to build physically, build power, and then also from a fundamental standpoint, we're trying to every day make sure we instill those. And I know that with Coach Elliott, it's the same fundamentals as far as going to class as it is tackling. So we want to make sure we're disciplined in all those different regards.
Kind of along those lines, have you seen some standouts this spring, guys that have jumped out to you that you think can help you come fall?
Yeah, I think Nick Jackson's done a nice job at inside linebacker. Jameer Carter, has come on. Aaron Famui has had a nice spring. Some young guys like Mike Green and Chico Bennett are all guys that have flashed, and then in the back end, a bunch of guys that have had playing experience. When you look at Clary, you look at AJ Johnson, that have had productive springs and really have done a great job as far as being students of the game and looking for ways that they can number one, communicate what they're doing, but then also communicate by showing that they can be productive once that ball's snapped.
Hey, John, Preston with CBS 19 here. Just want to ask, a lot of these veteran guys, you mentioned Nick Jackson, Jameer Carter, they talked about this defense coming back with a chip on their shoulders just because of how last year went. How have you seen that kind of manifest in spring so far?
I'm sorry. Repeat your question. I apologize.
You could. The guys have talked about having a chip on their shoulder just because of the way last year ended for the defense and the numbers that they allowed. How have you seen that manifest in spring practice?
Yeah, we definitely. I tell you what, there's a bunch of guys that are workers that enjoy the process, and so I think I think they've shown it by the way that they've worked, and understanding that there's a consistency to the way that we all work, and that if we're going to be good professionally, if we're going to be good here in this game, we've got to stack days on top of each other. And frankly, it's not going to be the snap of a fingers, or it's not going to be something we put in the microwave and it's done. It's something that we're going to have to, put in the oven, put on slow roast, and see if we can't, really cook it the right way.
I think I asked Coach Cox about this, but just with you and your coaching staff on the defensive side, was there any need to just kind of help rebuild confidence with these guys, or is that kind of something that was internal for them?
Yeah, I think, we breed confidence by knowing what to do, and being able to go out and do it fast. And so that, I think you have a confident defense once guys know what to do. And then frankly, what you've got to do is you've got to put on film, first off, against a really, really talented offense, that you can stop those guys. And so, we've shown glimpses, still have a lot of work to do, but I think that'll help breed some confidence as we go forward.
Hey, Coach, it's Mike again in Richmond. I'll get away from the personnel questions. And I wanted to ask, Preston just mentioned last year some of the struggles. A lot of it came from big plays, chunk yardage. Have you gone back and kind of reviewed specifically those kind of plays? And did you pick up a trend? Was it missed tackles? Was it blown assignments? Was it a combination? Anything that you kind of look and say, okay, this is what caused that specific issue?
Frankly, I can't say that I've studied it enough to give you a real direct answer.
When you look at the group you have, and particularly in the back end, does it seem like a group that should be able to fix that problem, I guess? Does it look like you have the pieces there to cut down on the big plays? Yeah,
I think, and again, it's, you minimize big plays by making sure mentality-wise that you understand what the situation is. And then ultimately, we've got to be great tacklers in the back end. And so I know that Carome has done a tremendous job as far as making sure we're emphasizing, isolating some drill work to be able to down balls when they pop in the run game, but then also to make sure that when we talk about what defense we're playing, that guys and DBs understand that if they need to stay on top of the big ball, they stay on top of the big ball. And so it's knowing where our weaknesses are to give us the best chance to win.
And a couple of your assistants kind of described the system, I think it was as aggressive but conservative. You weren't going to go crazy with blitzes. You didn't leave guys on an island a ton. Was that a good kind of nut graph of your philosophy, or what are your thoughts in terms of pressure versus giving your corners a little help out there?
Yeah, no, I think you hit on it. I mean, it's playing good defense is ultimately making that field short and trying to be really, really good in the red zone. And it's if you're going to play good defense, you got to minimize big plays, and it'll be something that we'll emphasize as we get going. And it's a metric that ends up being a great indicator as far as the success that you're having defensively. As we know, is if an offense has to earn it, we'll hopefully get them behind the sticks at some point, which gives us a chance to be in a winning situation.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Coach, Damon from Cavs Corner. So much of this spring is just about not just getting to know your players, but getting to know the rest of the guys on the staff as well. Now that you're a couple of months into that and building this scheme together, and now you're out on the field coaching together, how would you describe maybe the camaraderie among you guys as a defensive staff, or even the whole staff? Yeah, no, I think that it's coming together. I think what's always, when you're part of a new organization, I think this is super interesting about this staff is truly it's not we didn't pick up a staff from a previous stop and come here to Charlottesville. Frankly, there's guys that have really never worked together. And so it's been a great opportunity for each of us to get to know each other, not only personally, but also professionally. And something that was previously assumed in a different organization is no longer the same. And so from a communication standpoint, we've had to do a really, really good job with each other, making sure we're speaking the same language, and then also doing a great job with regards to understanding how we envision the organization. And I know that Coach Elliott's done a tremendous job of setting the foundation there culturally, so that we make sure that we're emphasizing, developing great student athletes and frankly building these young men, as we know that that we'll look back here in 18 months or 2 years and that Nick Jackson, successful as
we want him to be as a football player. You know, he's going to be really, really successful here in the Commerce School and have great opportunities professionally after that. So it's been neat to get to know these men and these young men here in the program that we get to coach on a daily basis.
To follow up Damon's question, when you have so many new guys coming together, is it neat when you can pull ideas from each other and just maybe hear something fresh that you haven't heard, even though you're kind of the guy running the defense? Yeah,
no, I mean that's what I made sure to emphasize when we started was really wanted to put fresh eyes on the defensive scheme and look at ways that we could be better. And so each and every day, I tell you what, I'm learning something new. And I'm sure we as a staff can be able to try to put together a scheme that fits us personnel-wise, but that also fits us as a staff, because that's super important for not only me as a coordinator, but for the position coaches to believe that this system puts their guys in the best position to be really productive.
You mentioned how similar it was to the defense that you've run before, but how many tweaks have you made just kind of now that you're learning this personnel this spring?
Yeah, no, and that's what's been really unique for me is obviously going against, a multiple offense, truly pro-style offense gives me the chance in the spring to evolve as far as, creating some good answers for some good offensive schemes that Dez has put on the field. And so I think it has been something, whereas, at my previous stop saw a little bit different offensive scheme, that was super run dominant, that to be able, again, to see the ball thrown around a little bit more and then also to teach some of those different fundamentals has been good for us. And it's something that, that it needs to continually evolve to, number one, our personnel, and then also to what we feel like we can execute. So it's every year, the defense has been different, and this year will be no different.
John, Jerry, Radcliffe.com. Chris Slade told us a couple of weeks ago that your defense is not complex for you guys, but hopefully complex for the offenses that face it. Have you found out that simple is always better?
Yes, simple's always better, right? When I communicate with my wife, simple's always better. So it better be the same with our defensive scheme.
We got time for a couple more questions.
He also said he'd like to teach you. He uses the term violence. Is that just another way of saying aggressive? Or?
Yeah, it's I tell you what, we want to be in a super aggressive group, and it's something that, again, guys get a chance to play super aggressive is if they know what to do, which again goes back to your first question as far as the simplicity. And it's if we can coach it, if we can minimize our terminology, and be able to communicate it in a very concise way, gives us an ability for our guys to be able to, number one, learn it, but then also it's such a fast game. The talent we play here in the ACC is so darn good. So our guys, we just don't have the benefit from having to think. So our guys got to be able to react.
One last question. Go ahead, Jackie.
This is kind of bouncing up Preston's earlier question. As you kind of figure out what fits your personnel and you look at where you are 12 practices in, are you happy with where things are? Is this where you thought everything was going to be around this time?
Yes, ma'am. I think we're building on, building the foundation, and it's always going to be a day at a time, and you just hope that, each day we continue to make progress.
And one final thing, I know when you first talked to you, said the big thing for spring is to know your personnel and figure out depth-wise where you stood. Do you feel like you have a better grasp of which areas you guys need to really attack depth-wise? Is there an area of concern that you really are trying to focus on?
No, I don't know if there's an area of concern. It's, you're always, again, you can feel great for a position, and then you can get through a practice or a scrimmage, and that depth changes. So, I do think we've got a bunch of guys that can play a diversity of positions, and that's kind of the fun part of coaching. That not only the X's and O's part, but also the personnel side of being able to move pieces in and out that give you ability to find out how you can be as productive a defense as possible.
John, what do you want to get out of Saturday? What do you want to accomplish in a spring game?
I think it's number one to kind of display who we are as a program, And then also it's making sure that our guys can enjoy being back in Scott Stadium. Put an exciting product on the field for families to come be part of, and then frankly, want to keep our guys healthy. There's no winning or losing. It doesn't matter what the color is or offense or defense. It'll be good too for Coach Smotherman to get these guys back in the weight room and start getting them ready for the off season.
Thank you.